Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Fungivore and Traveling Traders Bazaar info call for MyColores this year. I'm Kim Hunter, and this is,
I'm Zach Hunter,
and we are the
The-
Fungivore,
and the Mushroom Hunters.
the Mushroom Hunters. I'm gonna just share my screen so we can share a little bit more information visually.
So hopefully you're here because or you're watching this video because you heard from somewhere that there was a possibility of coming to Mexico and picking mushrooms and dying with mushrooms. And if that's the case, you are in the right place.
That's right. And Alissa just hopped on. Hey, Alissa, how are you?
Oh yeah, Zoom life.
Zoom live. All right, well, we're gonna get started. So we already introduced ourselves. So I'm Kim. I'm the founder of Traveling Traders Bazaar and one half of the Mushroom Hunters.
And my name is Zachary, and I guess I'm the OG Fungivore in this situation. And I'll tell you a little bit about how we came to be, if that works for y'all. I got into mushrooms. I'm a professionally trained chef, and I got into mushrooms I don't know, in 2000 or so, and have been foraging for almost 25 years now. It's one of my passions. I love being out in the woods, and I love everything about mushrooms, and this wonderful trajectory that has seen me now for 12 years in professional mushroom contexts, lecturing with mushroom associations or talking over Zoom, is now culminated in what the Fungivore and these events that we're doing, these micro adventures. And it's really phenomenal to say that we're in our 6th year of doing tours together. And we've learned so much along the way. And so I'd like to start and give sort of a brief overview of Mexico and of Oaxaca, and then
And
I'll
a
turn it.
quick hi to Alyssa. Um, and we'll get more into Alyssa shortly when we shift over to a bit more of the MyColores. But Zach was gonna chat a little bit more about Oaxaca and sort of the region.
Just give a quick overview on what we're doing here. So, for those who don't know, this is the country of Mexico. Mexico is the immediate southern neighbor of the United States. So, for those of you in Europe, this is where it is. And you can see that Mexico, unlike the US, is mostly mountains. It's almost the extension of the Rockies, of that whole orogeny zone of the mountains right down into the Caribbean. And what makes that interesting is that it collects mushrooms from both the West Coast and the East Coast and the Central Plains and kind of combines them all. Go ahead. Mexico is divided into 31 states plus Mexico City, and we are going to be focusing on Oaxaca. So if you look all the way down there at the very bottom to that yellow, rather larger state, that is the state of Oaxaca. It is on the Pacific Ocean, although its coasts generally look south, so it's quite disorienting when you're watching the sunset and all of a sudden it goes down to your right. So Mexico is more than just a country that speaks Spanish. In fact, there are over 300 or 400 indigenous language groups within Mexico, and this would be the dominant by region, although I'm not sure why they put Mixteco in Baja California, because that's actually in Oaxaca. But if you look down at the bottom, that same state, Oaxaca, you can see that that is generally considered a Zapotec-speaking region. This is the state of Oaxaca from the satellite. As I said, it's on the southern coast and is known for its beaches and for the central valleys, which is where all my little stars are. Those are actually all archaeological zones that I've put on my map. Oaxaca is very mountainous, like the rest of Mexico, and you can see here the Sierra Madre del Sur and the Sierra Nortes, and that is where we'll be spending our time for either of the two MyColores talks or the MyColores adventures that we're talking about today. Oaxaca City is there right in the middle. Oaxaca City is about equal to Denver or so, about 5,000 foot elevation, and the Sierra Nortes can go up to almost 11,000 feet, but that's about as high as you get in Oaxaca. And we can talk a little bit more about how to prepare yourselves for altitude. Oaxaca is generally divided into about 8 regions. These are as much geographical as they also are linguistic. The Sierra Sur and the Sierra Norte are generally Zapotec speaking, although there's the what's the mix? There's Mixtec, and then there's the other one, Mazatec. In the Sierra Sur. The Sierra Norte also has the Mijes as well, and that drops down into the Papaloapan, which is jungle, also the Istmo, and which is also jungle, and then the dry coast, which is where a lot of folks go to vacation. Oaxaca is a cradle of civilization. This is some photos from the caves of Mitla, some cave paintings that are dated about 12,000 BC. And Oaxaca and Mexico in general is known because the original inhabitants cultivated teosinte into corn, which is now the most widely grown crop in the entire world. So when we say it's a cradle of civilization, that's not an exaggeration, and we really try to highlight that as we go into these communities, these Zapotec communities, and really bring into the import how long this area has been occupied and how long it's been an important region in the world. This, to sort of elaborate, this is the Zapotec Empire, or a very small picture of it, actually. You can see through the Central Valleys several of the ruins, and in the Sierra Norte tour, we will be visiting Monte Alban, which is the one on the lower right side there, one of the most staggering and stunning ruins that has been uncovered, and so far as I know, that's about 16% of the total area that's actually been uncovered, so it's pretty phenomenal. Now, one of the things that we really like to point out is that while the Zapotecs, and you saw that in the map of Mexico, get sort of the rep for being here in Oaxaca, it is actually made up of 16 language groups. We will be working primarily with the Zapotecs this time, but it's an important distinction because it's within these language groups that a lot of the traditional mushroom knowledge is held. This is our friend Itahi, who we partnered with last year. Alissa was there as well in the Mixteca region. And this is some of the Mixtecan names for all the different parts of the mushrooms. Like their knowledge of ecology and their knowledge of the mushrooms is really deep. It's really important, and it's something that we really need to learn, and we really need to understand how to integrate ourselves with this knowledge that already exists, rather than trying to come down and say, well, this, and that, Latin names and all that. In fact, the fungi culture in Oaxaca is fairly the same as all of Mexico, which is that urban folks generally are turned off from mushrooms, or called mycophobic. The government actually has released posters saying don't pick wild mushrooms, which is absurd. Rural mestizos don't really have any opinion. Mestizos are a mix of the natives plus the Hispanics. And then the indigenous are deeply involved with mushrooms. They are mycophilic. A number of mushroom events have popped up around Oaxaca and around Mexico that really highlight this. And in fact, our interest in our beginning really started in Cuajimaloyas at the festival in 2019. Kim and I didn't speak any Spanish at the time. We took this group both to Oaxaca and to Veracruz with Alan Rockefeller, kind of following his lead. It was absolutely phenomenal, and it really made us want to keep doing this. And what's amazing now, and this is really a huge hat tip to Alissa and to Kim, is that through the use of mushrooms for dyes and connecting with the artisans here in Oaxaca, we've started to be invited into communities rather than seeking places to take people. And we feel like this flips tourism on its head a little bit. It's, you know, this year we'll be going, and Kim will talk more about this, to a silk producing village. And we've been flirting with them for a year and a half, and Kim has been doing some work with them in some of her traveling traders tours. And so it's been a phenomenal adventure. This is actually from Alissa's 2 years ago, when Alissa gave a presentation translated into both Spanish and Zapotec about all of the mushrooms that we'd used to dye during the 2 weeks that she was there. And it was one of the most tear-jerking, amazing moments for me. And it's just continued from there. So
well, thank
I'll
you
turn it
so
over to
much.
Kim at this point, and we can get more into the granular details of what we're doing.
And if you have any other questions about Oaxaca, you can email Zach at info@thefungivore.com.
It's true.
Alissa, thank you so much for coming in tonight. I'm gonna just introduce a few of the slides and then we're gonna shift to talk about MyColores. Just this is our 2024 adventure roster. We're gonna be talking about MyColores tonight, Sierra Sur and the Sierra Nortes. We are also offering 3 other Myco adventures this year that are more culinary focused. My Comida Requestre, which will be also in the Sierra Nortes, My Comida Ixtlan, which is in another part of the Sierra Nortes, and Myco Chiapas, which will be partnering with an organization, Fungaria, and in San Cristobal, Chiapas.
That's not to say that MyColores does not have food.
Because MyColores definitely does have food, and we can ask Alissa more about that and her experience as we've done this together a few different times. And we are really excited this year to have a great slate of returning experts and local guides, as well as some new folks that are coming into the mix. I'll share more about them as we get into it. As I said, we're very excited.
Yeah.
Uh,
We're dying to show you Mexico.
we're dying to show you. But first I want to talk a bit about Alissa Allen and introduce her and have her share a bit more about her. Alissa is going to be our expert for MyColores, as she has been for the last 2 years. This will be her 3rd year joining us. It is such a pleasure to create color with Alissa and to just get nerdy in the forest, finding our dye stuffs, and it's such a pleasure to have you back with us, Alissa. So I'll hand it to you to share more about you and your experience the last few years.
Thank you so much. That slideshow was so informational, and just I really enjoyed seeing all those images again, and there are new images and new content that it's really cool. Thanks for putting that together.
Yeah.
And yeah, thanks for having me back. I'm really looking forward to this. I almost said this next year's adventures, but here we are, 2024. Where do I start? I mean, I'm super excited to be going back to Sierra Sur. We went there last year and explored deep within the forests, found lots of exciting mushrooms. I guess one of the big surprises for me first going to Mexico and in Oaxaca to look for mushrooms was how similar the habitats feel. I had this preconceived idea of what the mushroom hunting would be like, both by looking at Google Maps before getting ready for this event. And I was just blown away. All of my preconceived notions were wrong. It was just heavily forested and really interesting plant communities coming together. So, I mean, you have the oaks, but then you have the conifers and then these giant agaves. And then last year in the Sierra Sur, we were in mountainous regions where I guess it's the cloud forest there. So really wet area. We were finding the examples of blue-green dye mushroom species, some of which I think I'm familiar with, and some of which probably don't have names yet. Very exciting to get into these forests and just explore. And this picture shows, one of the collections that we found there, and just very exciting to be able to go back and explore that some more and really dive into the dyes right there in the community. Mm-hmm. It's a wonderful location for culinary delights. Like we have a very fine restaurant right there where we'll stay, and mushroom delights, dishes that I've never even dreamt of, and just a feast for the palate. I'm really excited to be going back there. But then there's the Sierra Norte, and that's I think that was the first place that I went in Oaxaca with Kim and Zach. And so a little piece of my heart will always belong there. And I'm really excited to go back to Coajimalloyas and learn from the women of the village and the children of the village. We just had such a wonderful exchange last time. So I'm really looking forward to coming back after 2 years and seeing kind of how that's developed.
And MyColores is the slide I showed, that the festival that started it all. MyColores is the longest running mushroom festival in Mexico. And this would be its 24th year that it happens. And so the whole town is already mushroom themed, and like as the slide said, mycophilic is sort of an under
A lot of Oaxaca is quite
Yeah.
myco.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that was a total surprise to me too. It's just how embedded in mushroom hunting and mushroom eating and all of the, aspects are in Oaxacan culture. So kind of, makes me feel like we live in a very mushroom phobic society.
Not
Because
us.
everybody knows about us.
We're joining you from Oaxaca.
Everybody knows.
But no, the three of us, we do a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm very excited to be going back there. And then oh gosh, I can never remember the name of the second village. I need to practice that.
Okay.
El Carazal.
El Carazal. It's and that is it's hard because I don't like to have favorites, but our foray down into the ravines, the canyons, so beautiful.
Me too, but don't say
Well, and actually that does give me a good segue to talk more about the trips, a bit more.
introduce some of our other players.
And introduce some of our other folks. And I can't wait, Alyssa. I'm looking forward to us getting to spend more time in the woods this year.
And the food of both of those places, different than Sierra Sur, and so delightful. I've never loved a potato so much. I dream about those potatoes.
It's very true.
I'm so excited.
It's very true. I'm going to chat about Sierra Sur, but really quickly, just on the dates here, it's August 15th through the 23rd. It says the 22nd, but it is actually still the 23rd.
Yeah.
And we'll just talk a little bit more about each of the trips, although Alyssa did a really great job about introducing you to each of these. But
break down the general itinerary a little bit.
Yeah. And I'll also share who is going to be with us on these trips. So Sierra Sur is, as we said, in San Jose del Pacifico, which is a very mushroom friendly and popular town. You'll see one of the mushroom carvings in the slide right here, and you'll also see some delicious plated food, which is a matsutake soup that was made by cream of matsutake that is made by our host Fungivore and local chef Ariadna, who is going to be with us the whole week. We'll be staying at her family's cabanas, Teote Anan, which her family runs. Her father runs also the Temescal, and they also grow mushrooms as well. And Ariadna will be treating us to an amazing meals, both of traditional Oaxacan cuisine, but also mushroom dishes that I'm sure she'll surprise us with.
I mean, we met Ariadna at a very small mushroom festival and had never met her before, and went down to have the first lunch. And as we were eating, we're like, what
is this?
What is happening right now?
Like mushroom birria. It was just amazing.
Yeah, and like all these different little treat. I mean, she is a phenomenal chef.
And also born and raised in the area. So she's also our mushroom guide, and as well as connecting us with members of her family and community.
For those who don't know, San Jose del Pacifico, will you go back, is so called. Will you go back to that one?
Go back to
this picture that is behind Ariadna is actually on a clear day. You can see all the way to the Pacific Ocean. And this is almost at the peak of the Sierra Surs. So it's San Jose del Pacifico, despite being at 8,500 feet. You can actually see the Pacific Ocean on a clear day, hence the name.
It is very beautiful there, very magical, misty mountains.
Yeah.
And just to kind of walk through a few highlights for MyColores Sierra Sur, we'll do this for both trips just so you get a sense of a few of the differences of each. So MyColores Sierra Sur since we'll be going down to San Jose, we'll be traveling through the Acatlan Valley from Oaxaca City. So we'll start in Oaxaca City with a opening dinner. We'll also close our time there. The next day, we'll start to head south and stopping in the Acatlan Market, which is a weekly market that really demonstrates a lot of the culture of Oaxaca and ways of life. We'll also stop into a couple of the different artisan villages and studios on the way there, as well as up in the mountains on our non-foray days. We'll have we'll have 4 mushroom or forage dye forays, as well as 3 dye demonstrations and workshops. And that will include actually having our own dye setup this year in the mountains, which we're really excited about because it means that we get to play more with what we find.
And share it with the local
as well
community.
as share it with the local community some of these dye demonstration days. We'll be spending time with the local community to demonstrate the dyes, as well as our group with Alissa to do different projects. And we'll do also a full dye day where you'll get to take home some materials that we'll dye together. And that'll be really wool based because we'll be in those mountains. It's primarily wool. They do grow cotton there, but that's not the best medium for mushroom dyeing. But we might be stopping in to see that process. And then we'll return on the 22nd because the date is
1 day back.
1 day back. But we'll be returning back to Oaxaca City on the 22nd. So the afternoon in the city, as well as a dinner at night. And then on the 23rd, you're free to stay or go home. This trip is also, the altitude is about 6 to 8,000 feet above sea level, with about 3 to 5 miles a day. On
I
forays.
should say we determined that by looking at our Apple Health data from last year on the various days, and it was 3.2 to 4.5 or so miles, but that's the whole day. That includes walking back and forth from the restaurant and the cabin. That's the hike. That's the whole. That's the whole 24 hours.
We go pretty slow, as Alissa can attest.
We do. We go slow, and there's never any point at which you're going to get yelled at for falling behind. This is, everyone is going to be, allotted for finding tiny mushrooms and interesting things. And we go slow and we move chaotically, and it's quite fun and pretty reasonable, I would say.
Yeah. And as Alissa said, this is actually the area where we found amazing tooth fungi, from Phelodon to Phaeolus, to all sorts of amazing
Cortinarius.
Cortinarius.
We found wonderful dye mushrooms.
Still waiting to find that batch of Cortinarius. I'm hoping calling that in this year.
Nestled within a sea of Traderellis.
And that's also the benefit of having a mushroom foraging chef with us. As we're looking for dye mushrooms, Zach will be
edibles,
taking care of the edibles, as well as educating people on edibles if they'd like to learn more. So you really can choose your own adventure on these forays, and we take our time and we point out all the different nature. So it's really about the process. And in the end, we really do leave with quite a lot of mushrooms.
And we, in the past, and I'm sure we'll do that again, we also collect at least one of almost every mushroom we find to put them out on a table and to create sort of an idea, a whole range of what we're all finding. So we'll have tackle boxes to collect small mushrooms. We'll collect the weird mushrooms. We'll collect even the toxic mushrooms, just so you can really see the whole layout, especially highlighting the dye mushrooms and the edible mushrooms and the toxic mushrooms within those. So this is also a sort of bird's eye view of the mycological landscape and the ecological landscape of the areas we're going to as well.
Yeah, and that's a good way to shift to MyColores Sierra Norte, with the dates are correct for this, August 28th, September 5th. So Sierra Norte, as Zach showed on the map, which I really love the map that Zach shows, where he shows where the Nortes and the Sur is, because we really will get to experience sort of the 2 main mountain ranges of Oaxaca that are bountiful in mushrooms, but very different. And Sierra Norte, which is just within 2 hours of Oaxaca, just really sits above Oaxaca City. is a series of towns that go deeper and deeper into the mountains, that are part of a agreement called the Mancomunados. And so they all have cabins that are for ecotourism, and the communities work to support tourists to be in those mountains, as well as
Mhm.
using local guides, as well as getting permission to hunt mushrooms there. So
Right.
that's something that's unique to Oaxaca, is that, well, when you're on land, it is somebody else's or communities, and you have to get permission from those communities before you pick mushrooms. And
And one
we're
of
very
the,
lucky to have partnerships with those communities and also have them come with us in many ways, as well as guides. And so in Sierra Norte, actually, we'll have Celestino Mendez with us. And he is from one of the Mancomunados, Latuvi. He's been a partner of ours since 2021. We've known him since 2019. I actually met him in Coajimalollas.
Mhm.
And he'll be our guide in the Sierra Nortes. And it's going to be really exciting. We're going to kick off in Oaxaca City. We're going to head to Monte Alban the following day.
the image that you saw in the lower right for the ruins there.
Yeah, the ruins that Zach pointed out. We'll go to Monte Alban and then make our way into the Sierra Nortes. We're going to stay in Coajimalollas, which Zach mentioned, which is the place where the Mushroom Festival is. And also the first place that Alissa
Got to see
got to
mountain
hunt
mountain
forage
Oaxaca.
mushrooms. And so we're really excited to reconnect with the kids that we met a
Kind
few
of
years
scared how
ago.
tall they're going to be.
Yeah, I think they're going to be taller. Because again, we'll have more of a setup to be able to share what it is that we find with Coajimalollas. We also have Sonia and Martha that live in Coajimalollas. Sonia is the specializes in herbs and making those kind of products.
Mhm.
And then Martha is the village Hongera, the mushroom woman. So she is amazing, and they hopefully will come with us if their schedules allow.
Mhm.
And then after Coajimalollas, we'll be heading to home base in El Carrizal. And this is a village that is actually filled with adobe hornos that are for ovens that make bread. They grow their own wheat.
They thresh it with donkeys.
Reina, who's in the upper right here, with those bright yellow Amanita fasciae, maybe?
Fasciae,
She'll be joining us on our forays in El Carrizal, and it's there that we also will have a central space to set up our own dye space, as well as ID table. And we're really excited about a Sierra Nortes because we're going to be exploring a new forest and working with a new community of San Pedro Cajonos. And in this community, they've been raising silk and spinning, weaving, and dyeing silk. And you'll see that's right. There's the silk
pods down here
in the lower
and spinning the silk right above that.
Yeah, they're spinning the silk right there. And so they are use forage dyes. There's an abundance of natural dyes here in Oaxaca. Pericone is used for yellows. Indigo, which is grown on the coast, is used for blues, and then reds are made with cochineal as well as Palo Brazil, but they don't use mushrooms actually. And so we've been actually doing artisan workshops with them on my textile based and maker tours, and we're now gonna get to explore their forest on one of the forays with some members of the community to see what kind of dye mushrooms they have. And as part of one of the 3 dye demonstrations and workshops, we will do a whole day at the Silk Sanctuary,
which is gorgeous, sort of anachronistic almost.
Which is gorgeous, where we'll be dyeing with some silk, both with natural dyes as well as the mushroom dyes that we've found. So that should be 6 nights. It's all right, it's all on the website.
It should be stated that this adventure is slightly higher, or will take us into higher altitudes than the Sierra Source. So this is more on the 8,000 to 11,000 feet. But again, it's roughly the same, 3 to 5 miles a day. It's some of the Carrizal hikes will challenge you, will challenge us. We live at 5,000 feet. And they're more, start at one point and end at another point, but I promise the end is the reward. Yeah, so it's actually 6 nights in mountain community cabins at the bottom there. Sorry for the typo.
That's all right. Well, and so just to wrap up, after our dye day with San Pedro on September 4th, we'll leave the mountains in the morning and go through Teotihuacan de Valle, which is the Zapotec weaving and natural dyeing village, where you'll get to see some of those artisans in action and meet some of them, and then come back to Oaxaca City for a closing dinner. And then our accommodations are through the morning of the 5th, and you're welcome to fly out in the morning, although we recommend you stick around and enjoy a bit of the city. Alissa, did you have anything that came to mind that I missed or that you wanted to add?
No, this is great. I'm just so excited.
I'm excited too. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And so how to join MyColores 2024.
Right.
Step 1, apply at thefungivore.com. This is serious. If you do want to come on a trip, applying is the best way to secure your spot in our roster of applicants. So we fill the trip based on the order in which we receive applications. So if you are interested, I would highly recommend you apply, which will allow us to note your interest and then follow up. Step 2 is just that. We take a look at your application. We offer an info call with either of us to share more, or if this call or the information on the site is good, then we'll send a payment link to secure your spot on the trip. We use a secure Stripe payment link, and we charge the full amount and with a refund schedule that's included with a $500 non-refundable deposit, which allows us to make a lot of our bookings and other things in order for the trip to happen. And that is sort of all of this in a nutshell.
Yeah, if you have any questions or if there's anything you feel like you want us to expand on, absolutely send an email to info@thefungivore.com. We are happy to schedule one-on-one phone calls with anyone as your schedule permits. And you know, we just love talking about mushrooms and colors, and we'd love to just sort of, as I said earlier, we're dying to show you Oaxaca, so we hope that that you join us.
That would be great. Well, yeah, I think we're gonna hop off since want to keep this short and sweet for everybody, but also very informative.
Yes.
Yeah. Alissa, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. And thanks for that wonderful presentation.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in. And for anybody who was on our info call last night, I hope you enjoyed this replay that we recorded for you.
Bye, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
See you in Oaxaca.
See you in Oaxaca.